has been a five-star show.
A historic loss in a Champions League final. 5-goal deficit. We've never seen this before, nor have your grandparents. It was a first for everybody. But with that said, this season wasn't a failure for Inter. The very end of it, it ended in complete embarrassment, of course. But as a whole, the season can't be seen as a failure, as a complete collapse. Taking the Serie A to the final day, making the Champions League final, semi-finals of Coppa Italia. They stumbled at the last or second last in each competition, but they were there at the end of those competitions due to their quality. You have to be good to compete for trophies, and they competed on all fronts, despite probably not having the squad to do so. Inter are still working under financial scrutiny and major limitations. Their starting 11 in the final was put together for 148 million euros. Just for comparison, PSG starting 11, 477 million. The fact that Inter have made 2 Champions League finals as well as found domestic success so consistently in the last few years is a huge compliment to Inzaghi and Beppe Marotta, the mastermind behind the decisions being made at Inter, such as hiring Inzaghi. But at the same time, these limitations have seemingly hit a breaking point, and you can expect a ton of change at Inter soon, or at least there should be. Not a complete overhaul of the squad, that's not necessary, but a freshening up for sure, which the extent of which can never be guaranteed when it comes to Inter's transfer windows. And now it seems as though the future of Inzaghi, well, there's no future at all now at Inter.
L'Inter punta al double, campionato treble.
Unfortunately, stating ambitions, a normal thing to do, provides your rivals with a lot of ammo or a stick to beat you with after every single failure. And that's exactly what happened thanks to the video you just saw. Inzaghi being asked if Inter are aiming for a double after they had eliminated Feyenoord in the round of 16. To this, Inzaghi said a triple. And now there are many edits that you can find from rival supporters. You know, everything you'd expect. Inzaghi holding up 3 fingers with AC Milan scoring 3 goals against them in the Coppa Italia. PSG's 3rd goal in the final. But anyway, that video has seemingly cursed Inter in some ways, as their dreams of a triple, then a double, then just a single trophy were dashed, 2 of them in embarrassing fashion, and the other down to the wire. The one that went down to the wire was Serie A, where Inter can look back at any time they hit the woodwork, any time they weren't given a penalty they thought they should have been, and of course, the penalties they did give away themselves. One in particular stands out in the Serie A race. Matchday 37, the penultimate match of the season, playing against Inzaghi's former side Lazio at home. Twice Inter took the lead and looked as though they were going to see out a win, huge for them, as Napoli was locked in a draw away to Parma. If Inter win, they go ahead of Napoli by 1 point going into the final match day. But Bisek handles the ball as he moves his arm towards the ball as Castellanos is trying to touch it past him, and Pedro converts to make it 2-2 from the spot and take the Scudetto out of Inter's hands and back into Napoli's hands, back into Conte's hands. Coppa Italia. Absolute collapse versus AC Milan. Milan sort of became their bogey team this season, didn't they? After what felt like Inter dominating them forever, Milan, in their worst season in recent years, daddies up on Inter on every occasion. Very strange stuff. Then, the Champions League final, where they looked completely outplayed, and worse yet, as Barella said after the game, played without heart. To not play with heart in a final, to win or lose, that's the bare minimum that's expected of supporters. Effort. They looked like a team that didn't belong there. PSG had more difficult matches against lower and mid-table Ligue 1 sides, which is inexcusable for a team like Inter. There will be a lot of hindsight takes now when it comes to the Champions League run, where once people were praising their fight against Barca, now they will be saying, well, Sommer saved them, or that they only made it past Bayern due to Bayern's shortcomings in finishing and inability to defend from set pieces, rather than Inter's merits. Look, there are grains of truth in all of it, but you at times create your own luck. You still have to capitalize on your luck, right? And ride it out when you can and hope that your opponents don't. Inzaghi said he wanted his team to dominate the ball in the final, but they could barely come close to PSG's players. Not all of that is on him, as his squad isn't built to stand up to PSG both in terms of speed and, let's be honest, this has been a tactical masterclass from Luis Enrique, the magnum opus of his career, in my opinion. The treble with Barca was great, but he had Suarez, Messi, and Neymar in the attack. I don't want to discount that accomplishment too much, but the way he morphed this PSG side into a máquina, as he put it, or a machine, has been incredible to watch. But Inzaghi played his part as well in their failure. The substitution of Bisek was forced upon him. He needed another defender, but the players who changed the game for Inter against Barcelona, Zielinski, Fratesi, and Taremi, didn't see the pitch at all. Some could say, well, it was over at 2-0 anyway, but you're supposed to continue fighting, aren't you?
Simone Inzaghi is leaving Inter Milan and he's going to be moving to Hilal.
Well, it seems as though Inzaghi is not going to continue fighting with Inter. Just yesterday, June 3rd, Inter had their scheduled meeting with Inzaghi to discuss his future in light of all these Hilal talks, right? The offer on the table from Hilal was allegedly 50 million euros for 2 seasons. That's a figure Inter could never match. Few managers in the world make that much money. Simeone is one of them, Guardiola another. Arteta, of all people, isn't far behind. What an agent that guy has. 3rd best paid manager in the world? Damn. He makes 3 times as much as Inzaghi. Even David Moyes is ahead of him. But anyway, after the final, the big question was, would Inzaghi stick around to right the wrongs? Would Inter give him the assurances he needs in the market in order to continue with the club and bring in reinforcements, something the squad desperately needs at the moment? Or would he say, forget it, I'm sick of operating on a shoestring budget, of being paid less than Mikel Arteta and David Moyes. I'm going to get my cash in Saudi Arabia for a couple of years and then probably come back to Italy in particular, or just Europe in general, right? Well, according to reports all over the internet, from Sky to Gazzetta dello Sport to Florian Plettenberg to Di Marzio, Fabrizio Romano, and more, it's been confirmed by everybody at this point that Simone Inzaghi has decided to leave Inter with 1 year on his contract and accept the offer from Hilal, which in the last 24 hours has allegedly become a 3-year offer at 26 million euros net each season. So things have changed there already. Hi everyone, Editor Adrian here. As I was finishing this video, it was officially confirmed that Simone Inzaghi will not be continuing with Inter. Inter have said the paths of the club and Simone Inzaghi separate. The decision is taken via a mutual agreement after the meeting that took place a few moments ago. Inzaghi's management of Inter will be remembered for his great passion, professionalism, and dedication by fans, players, directors, and employees. 6 trophies, a Scudetto, 2 Coppa Italias, and 3 Super Cups are the honors earned over the last 4 years, which have brought the club back to the top of Italian and European football. Yes, what everyone thought was going to happen did end up happening. This man is going to Saudi Arabia. Now, there's 2 ways of looking at this, really. There are some who say that Inzaghi is justified in wanting to leave as he wasn't fully supported by the club. Some was out of the club's control, with transfer limitations, and the fact that they are owned by a global asset management firm who just cares about making money at the end of each fiscal year, right? Sure, they understand that investment is necessary to make money. Scared money doesn't make money, if you will. But as long as the team is playing at a high enough level that the brand isn't tarnished, they may not be inclined to truly invest more than they need to. Some also point to Marotta not supporting Inzaghi enough in the media, that Inzaghi felt isolated at times, like the club didn't have his back when he would speak out about something. Friend of the channel, Nima Tavale Rozzari of the Italian Football Podcast, pointed this out in a recent episode, linked below for you to check out, where he mentioned the fact that Inzaghi spoke out about how they had been screwed by referees lately, only for Marotta to say, well, we don't want to get involved in controversy. Other owners such as De Laurentiis, for example, maybe the extreme end, would back their coach when they said something like this. Inzaghi didn't get that.
The pressure is on constantly and you feel it much more than when you were a player.
So now the question is, who does Inter bring in? The name that is most heavily associated with Inter at the moment seems to be Cesc Fabregas, with De Zerbi in suit, but he has apparently said that he's happy in Marseille, so we'll see how that develops. Fabregas, for what he's achieved with Como, was always going to be one of the coaches who was most sought after among Serie A clubs, right? There were links to Juve at one time, AC Milan prior to Allegri taking on that job, and now to Inter Milan. Finishing in 10th with Como, a newcomer to the league last season, a return to the league last season, I guess I should say, is a solid achievement, but one that people are assigning asterisks to. It's not as if Como are some team that clawed their way up through some sort of groundbreaking approach to recruitment or their academy or an against all odds story. They have the richest owners in Serie A, and yes, indeed, they invested that money in smart ways most of the time, and that helps them greatly. Transfermarkt market values are often to be taken with a grain of salt. They are to be taken with a grain of salt, but Como's squad ranks 11th in Serie A when it comes to that metric. Funnily enough, when it comes to their salary ranking in the league, they sit in 10th, just like their league position. So it's not to say that what Fabregas achieved with Como was easy peasy or anything like that, but given how new he is to the management game, he only received his licenses about a year ago, signing him is absolutely a gamble. Now, like any gamble, it's high risk, high reward. Fabregas could go on to lead Inter to new heights and be someone who grows with the club as they usher in a new era, transition into a new era, which it feels like Inter are on the precipice of. Or a similar thing to Motta at Juve could happen. Underwhelming results that put Juve back another season and end up hurting a young manager's reputation early in their career. Copy-paste to Inter as a possible outcome. Maybe some have made too much of the, LOL Inter old notion. They lost so handily to Paris due to more than just being old. Again, Inzaghi was absolutely pantsed in front of the world by Luis Enrique when it comes to the tactical game, and the tempo that PSG plays at took them over the top. We went over that stuff. But while it isn't the only reason why they lost the final, there is absolutely reason to refresh the squad now. Mkhitaryan and Acerbi, great servants, and have done well in their old age, but their performances are going to get worse and worse as their age becomes more and more obvious at the top level. Jan Sommer at 36, reason to believe he will still be able to hack it at this level. Age affects goalkeepers a bit less, right? Marko Arnautovic is already leaving, that's for sure, and Matteo Darmian may have been able to hang a couple of years ago, but he too is turning 36 this year. Stefan de Vrij is 33, he could remain. There are a lot of older players, especially in the defensive positions, and while you don't need to clear them all out, you do need younger reinforcements now so that they can adapt while the older guys are still around for maybe 1 year or so, sort of the passing of the baton season. There is still a good younger core with Lautaro, Thuram, Barella, Bastoni, and you have two young guys in Petr Sucic, a defensive midfielder, and Luis Enrique, a winger, joining Inter already, but more younger signings are absolutely needed. So when you couple the two aspects together, Inzaghi's departure as well as the squad needing refreshing, it makes for an incredibly uncertain future at Inter. Inzaghi was able to juice the squad for all it's worth and then some, and while he wasn't perfect, he typically maintained success with the club against all odds. There aren't a ton of managers in the world, less so in Italian football, who could have accomplished what he had with Inter. And so with his departure, if Inter are to bring in a less experienced coach, that means that fans will likely have to adjust from expecting success, expecting silverware each season, to expecting a massive transitional season during the next campaign, bar maybe a decent shot at glory in the Coppa Italia, for example. With Inzaghi overseeing the squad transition, maybe that success expectation would still be reasonable. All right, guys, that's it from me. I will be keeping an eye on Inter as they are now a team that is hard to understand where exactly they'll go from here, end of an era kind of. Italian football in general is fascinating at the moment with the merry-go-round of managers, and with Conte apparently staying at Napoli now. What do Juve do next in their manager search? Stick or twist with Tudor? What do Inter do? What about Atalanta with Gasperini leaving? Anyways, guys, thanks as always for watching, and I'll catch you in another video very soon. Take care.